Rivals Fight Night North America, the money match now underway, but it's not Sentinels, it is in fact Envy with the I-Remix reverse sweep as it's being called. And a little bit of domination there from Space on the Super Gomez. Legend that. I'm ZP here with Jake, and Jake, it kind of shows that anything can happen, especially early in a game's life cycle in esports.
You know, these top teams, like as good as they are, there's always the chance for the upset for the players who are motivated, who are grinding the game. In my experience, like the teams that are really strong early, they don't tend to last that long. And Sentinels, I'm wondering, is that going to be their fate here? I think it's too soon to call them out because they have been such a strong team. I think, honestly, if they had like banned the Hella on map 3, this could have been a 3-0. Maybe they would have just closed it out. And this would have been the story of Envy falling short. But instead, Envy found their footing, found the adjustments, improved throughout the series, and now going to be challengers against a 100 Thieves squad that I think was also expecting to be facing Sentinels here in the money match.
And this is the format here on Rivals Fight Night every Thursday. That's right, mark on your calendar. We try not to miss. We have matches in EU and NA. We kick things off with our EU challenging match where Luminosity looked really strong versus 0%, but the Bears of Virtus Pro just continue to be unstoppable. A 3-0 over there. But we just had our NA challenging match here, Jake, where Envy came in, got the reverse sweep, and now they look towards 100 Thieves, the real raid bosses of Marvel Rivals in North America.
This will be an interesting one too, because a lot of teams go up against 100 Thieves and they just get the hell out of the server. They do not take that mirror. You know, they know what a threat that is from 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves has evolved as a squad to be able to still succeed without it. However, this is a match where, based on Cal's picks so far, I wonder, will Envy let that through? Will Cal take that heads up Hella mirror? And how will that matchup go? I mean, you got to think 100 Thieves are probably the favorite here, but it's going to be really interesting to see a team that is potentially willing to challenge 100 Thieves at their own game.
Well, speaking of 100 Thieves, the roster here, really quite a bit of infamous nature to it at this point because they have looked so dominant. But, you know, to run you through the roster real quick, you know, some names here you should be familiar with. And Jake, starting first and foremost, we gave Cal a lot of gassing up, but if we're talking about duelists, Delina on the left, also a Hella legend and looked very, very impressive last week. And of course, has looked impressive over the course of the Marvel Rivals Invitational.
Yeah, Delana just been a top player, you know, even since some of this whole squad, really, even since some of the very early alpha beta tournaments, right? Like just the very start of Marvel Rivals, this was a squad to look out for, a team of huge threats across the board. I also look at Vinny and TTK in the Vanguard line have been really impressive, and Harvey and SJP in the strategist as well, really difficult to kill. And putting down a lot of damage from the strategist role here. So 100 Thieves, I mean, this is a squad that across the board, they're full of threats. I don't think that you can beat this team with just a simple ban out. It has to be beyond that. You need to really be having a full court press of threats of your own. Maybe Envy can be that team, but I do think this is an uphill battle. They are the reigning champions for a reason. Last week, they slapped down Sentinels 3-0. I mean, it's just a beatdown from 100 Thieves. The last few matches we've seen them play against some of the other top teams.
Well, you know, we don't do it here alone with just two people on the desk. You got to bring in some extra people with even more expertise. That's right, we're bringing him back in. He might not be royalty, but he still has the name Prince. Avast back in on the action. And I don't know if we have the graphic to go for it, but Avast, your former boss woke up. He finally got on Twitter and he had some words.
Oh, I thought we were talking about a different former boss, but yeah, this is definitely this was a good match for Envy. This is a very good match for Envy. I mean, I had to reply to him and say it's the old man strength because Envy, I mean, this is a team of some older players. They've been around a bit. I mean, Sleepy has been out the game of playing competitive like esports for like 7 years. So it's been a pretty long, it's been since 2018. So I mean, like, this is a very, very very big win, I think, for Envy because they looked good. They have a lot of talent. They looked really raw, pretty new team. I know they've been working behind the scenes to scrim a lot. So this win versus Sentinels, which is a team that has a lot of history in Marvel Rivals, they've been looking really good, you know, throughout most of their performances. I think this is a huge win for them as a squad, and it shows that they still got it. Like, Unk has still got it.
Just such factors across the board here. I am curious to see, though, you know, especially for the performance from somebody like Space, who is a really storied player in the genre. I think had a fantastic series on Magneto in particular. There's a reason they're always protecting it for him because they really believe in his individual prowess in the matchup. So I think the Vanguard line is maybe going to be a focal point here in the matchup, where I think Cal and NK, also huge threats, going to match up well in the duelist line. But the question is for NB, do you have the coordination across all roles here? Because I think you cannot rely on the one-to-one domination in the duelist role. Going 50-50 is probably feeling pretty good against a squad like 100 Thieves. You're gonna need to also have the team play, the vanguards, the ability to approach these maps with a deeper strategy, because 100 Thieves have also been together, much like Sentinels, for quite a long time. So not only do they bring the huge fragging threats in the duelist, but also they've got the strategy, they've got the deep hero pools, many different strategies on any map they go to.
So right now we are just waiting for the teams to get into the lobby. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Is that you talk about strengths of the two different teams. Let's put it this way. Cal will be a legend among legends if we are deeper into the series. We go, look, you got to ban the Hela. Delita just can't compete. I don't think we're going to hit that. I think Delita is incredible on the Hela, and it's going to be a hotly contested Hela v Hela mirror for a lot of these maps. I would be shocked if we saw anything else. And, Avast, Jake brings up a really good point, is that I feel like this is where the other elements of Envy are going to get tested, because they're not going to be able to kind of tilt things in their favor as much from the duelist end here, because I think the duelist end will likely be very even.
Overall, when you see this duels comparison, I mean, 100 Thieves duels have been on fire. I mean, especially when you talk about Delena and just the impact they've been having on the Hela that we've talked so much about. But really, when we see some of the best squads, and when we talk about the EU side, one of the most dominant squads, it's those vanguards. How is the Vanguards? How much damage are they bringing? How much utility are they bringing? I think Envy have looked really good in particular space. I mean, not to say, the hashtag IRemix sweep. Obviously, we're not saying that was a bad thing at all. IRemix has been playing really well. It's just space is continuing to get a lot of value from those bubbles from the bulwarks on Magneto, making sure that their strategies aren't going down and counter Meteor Imps, keeping them alive even through the corner Proteuses. And so when I see the play that the Envy frontline has been bringing to the table so far, we're also, players that have a lot of FPS hero shooter experience overall. It gives me a little hope here looking versus 100 Thieves, because so far it seems like in North America it's been like a two-horse race, a bit of like, oh no, like Sentinels, 100 Thieves, like where's that back and forth gonna go? It seems like Envy might have the chops to take it to them, because I think their hero pools are pretty good. I think overall their level of experience obviously really great, and it looked really, really good versus Sentinels here. So there is a chance, I think, in this 100 Thieves match that we have a pretty exciting matchup, especially because 100 Thieves versus Sentinels in our last Rivals Fight Night was relatively close at times. There was moments where it wasn't just a complete blowout. It's not like Virtus Pro playing in EU. So if you're an Envy fan, I think you should have a lot of confidence, or at least hope, that they can take some maps on 100 Thieves, if not even win.
And that being said, it'll be interesting to see how the matchup plays out, because traditionally, like you've said, it's been a two-horse race. It's been Sentinels taking on 100 Thieves. Recently, 100 Thieves has been coming out on top, but Sentinels is such a different team. They approach the game in such a strategically different way. The matchup is as much a game of strategy as it is a game of skill, where I think if Envy just goes heads up here in like the heavy duelist mirrors, it's going to be way more emphasis on the individual fragging potential of the squads. And that's a place where no one has beaten 100 Thieves, I would say. I mean, 100 Thieves has lost before, but they have lost to like really well-designed strategies from Sentinels. I don't think I've ever seen them lose in just like the raw duelist mirrors. So if Envy does that, if they even make this one close and competitive, I think they're really making a mark here on the NA rival scene.
Yeah, and I think for me is that this is where I think Rivals Fight Night, in a way, you think about the overall context of the scene, right? Where the Marvel Rivals Invitational is going on again tomorrow. Envy has been a team like in dire need of more match experience, right? So this here tonight, I mean, they get to the match experience against Sentinels. They actually beat Sentinels, and now they get even more match experience against 100 Thieves. I mean, I feel like, Avast, you're looking at this here from the Envy perspective. In a way, they're playing with the house money. Deep down, they probably went in here not necessarily expecting to even get to the money match, but they wanted to play, like competitors have been for a long time. They've actually beaten Sentinels, and now they get even more experience against 100 Thieves. The pressure could not be more off, whereas, for 100 Thieves, a little bit more pressure there, although I think 100 Thieves, by comparison, they're just in the mindset of, we are the best, no one can touch us, period. So I don't think they recognize a threat here, should it exist.
Your aura is so powerful that you don't even see that some of the smaller auras approaching you, right? And I think overall for 100 Thieves is that, I mean, that's what they got of aura. They have a lot of aura. They're also one of the only organizations that have invested in terms of doing a physical boot camp, right? Bringing players to a physical location to play, to make content with the organization. So 100 Thieves clearly is throwing a little bit more, I think, investment as an organization. It's not to necessarily throw shade or even to glaze 100 Thieves in particular. It's just showing that they've definitely put a lot into making sure the team is successful comparatively. And so I do think for 100 Thieves, they have to be feeling really, really confident. The results speak for that. But you're definitely right in that for Envy, this is critical going into the Marvel Rivals Invitational. This is critical just gaining match experience for a very new roster. I mean, they weren't even around, essentially. They'd just been formed to compete in the initial versions of Rivals Fight Nights. And, we've had, once again, not to throw shade at other teams that have teams that have backed out. So they're like, oh, we're going to save our strats, right? We're not looking to compete here just today because we're about to play, like literally tomorrow. But realistically, there's a reason teams like 100 Thieves are playing here today. There's a reason that there are teams like Envy playing here today, and it's because what trumps saving strats is being confident and getting reps in. Reps is like the most important thing. Talk to your bodybuilder bro. He's gonna be like, yeah, you need to get the reps in and you need to be on anabolic steroids. Okay, those are the two most important things. You're not gonna find. So
it's exactly the same in esports. All right,
it's the exact same way. And, I don't know if they're on anabolic steroids necessarily. I mean, it could be on something else. But we are getting into the pick, protect or the ban protect phase now.
All right, this is going to be really interesting because I see these two teams as being somewhat similar from a hero perspective in terms of their strategic approach. 100 Thieves going to snap ban the Loki, though. I think they are a team that doesn't want to deal with that double Luna Snow ultimate. It is a little bit ridiculous. Wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of strategist bans. And once again, Envy are going to just ban out the Doctor Strange. So that's interesting. I don't think 100 Thieves is nearly as reliant on the player hero combo. I do think they have used it really successfully in the past, though.
Yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, okay, I thought it was just a Kalush target ban, which made a lot of sense. Maybe there's a world they don't like this at all, but oh boy, guess what? We got a different match coming up here, Vast, because Wolverine is available. He did not get banned early, and now tanks, watch out.
So it makes a lot of sense now when I see the protect on Magneto, because I was like, why would we protect Magneto? Almost no one's banning Magneto ever, but they must have known that 100 Thieves here on Hell's Heaven is going to be playing a pocket pick Wolverine. And that's pretty much one of the only true hard counters is Magneto with the bulwarks.
Also, what is this cowardice? You banned Hela. We just saw Cal do ridiculous work, and you've just
Cal on Winter Soldier was good.
You've told Delina, yes, we fear you. We fear you right now.
I got to defend this Hela ban. I actually got to defend this Hela ban. I think what you're really scared of is the Wolverine Hela duo, because when the enemy plays Wolverine, I think you really want to play the Winter Soldier to be able to disrupt Wolverine and deny him some of his leaps. However, if you go to that Winter Soldier, the enemy has a Hela, you feel a little bit more scared, whereas like the Namor Winter Soldier, I think if you don't want to mirror match the Wolverine, is a much more potent DPS combo in just responding to that threat from Wolverine. And I think being on the back foot, playing slow against an enemy Hela would be too scary. So I actually think based on the Wolverine Protect, it makes a lot more sense. I don't think this is actually a confidence question for Envy. I'm actually kind of impressed that they find this ban.
Yeah, I mean, if that is the reason, then that is like an extra level of, look, we know the Wolverine is coming. We don't want to deal with it. So there's also a very defensible explanation versus just like, no, Delina just has too much gas. We don't want to deal with that because, I mean, from what we saw Cal, I would say Cal can throw punch for punch, just based on Sentinels being the measure of judgment. But here we go, Jake. We are getting right into it. And what's looking out to you comp-wise as 100 Thieves in here with the Rocket?
They're going to go with the Rocket team up with the Bucky, whereas Envy is going to value that Adam Warlock team up with Star-Lord, which we've seen be, really, really potent. So I'm curious to see which one of these gets more value. I would say conventionally, this Adam Warlock should get a lot done here. It's going to be actually Cal on the Adam Warlock, so triple strategist for Envy.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you think about it, in many ways, Warlock is basically healer Hela as far as how his main primary shot works. So Cal could be quite deadly on it, but we have the team up here, and this is where you just lay in damage to the tanks, look for the tank pickup, but Magneto bubble really well timed in from Envy from space.
Yeah, also that Invisible Woman team up from Envy, they look really well prepared strategically. However, Harvey, Vinny, open it up, and the team ups mean nothing when you're dead. No reses available here for Envy. The players alive are the ones with the self-res, though NK does pop that. Cal getting cleaned up, and the Groot, uncontested, maybe just a little bit too much to get through. I mean, we've seen VP in Europe just tear people apart with the Groot. It's a reason it gets banned in a lot of series. I think if you're not going to match the Groot, you may be in trouble on domination.
Yeah, I think especially too, the amount of power Groot gives you when you're on the defense, when you can set up really high damage wall plays, it gets really frustrating to deal with, especially if you're not going to run a Groot and have that same advantage on the defense yourself. But Envy right now, on the verge of getting some ults, looking for a way in, and oh, that is a huge Mantis sleep, but it's not enough. Terra's still able to finish it off, and time for some again action here as Terra does the clean sweep.
Yeah, I wonder if this Wolverine Protect was just like a bait, or if they, you know, maybe they're going to deploy it on some of the later rounds, but already 100 Thieves with the group combo. Classic comp, and it's working fantastically well for them. They're not focused on the team ups, they're just focused on the core synergy, and I think 100 Thieves look really impressive right now, and frankly, as good as Envy looked last series, this is a little bit of what I expected. 100 Thieves have been the toughest opponent in North America.
Envy down 60% right now, looking for their first capture. Key inflection point here now. NK on the Star-Lord, gonna be opening up with Galactic Legend in all likelihood. Meanwhile, you got Remix coming in, got the Invisible Woman armor over and in. A little bit of disruption there. Is that gonna be enough for NK to get a kill? 100 Thieves, they drop the Invisible Boundary in turn. Meteor M2. Both teams still at full strength as ultimates get traded out. Galactic Legend fading. Still, Mantis ult still on the table. Space holding on to the Meteor M. See how Envy burns the last little bit here. Both teams still looking for a first pickoff. Remix back into the fray once more again. Beaten up, able to bounce back, get healed, right back over and in. Soul Resurgence in here from Sleepy as Envy is just struggling, Jake, trying to find anything. The disengage for 100 Thieves, though, really on point.
They just can't get rid of this 100 Thieves backline. They're proving so durable. Space, though, gets the cleanup onto point. Delena counter pops the legendary, but the flip comes through. So now, playing with a bit of house money, our Team Envy. However, 100 Thieves making it difficult, making it very scary here in the matchup. Cal with that execution threshold cannot take too much damage here. Does get bursted down, and Terra starting to potentially turn this fight around, cleaning up 400 Thieves under pressure, getting that desperate heal from Rocket Raccoon. Maybe it'll be enough, down to just 1 HP time and time again, and Envy just barely get the flip here on domination.
All right, Envy with the flip back over. And now we'll see what 100 Thieves does on the recontest. A lot of room to work with here. Only one fight needed to take the first round, so Envy must be perfect from here on out.
Yeah, this Groot ultimate, there's no obvious counter to it. So Vinny really going to be looking for that opportunity to set up. Maybe could snipe it into the enemy backline or just disrupt the tank. Is going to pop it on the thing, but Thing's getting a lot of tanking support. Very hard to get through it, and Cal burst down TTK.
Yeah, Cal proving to be a threat on the Warlock. However, BRB bring Magneto back into the fray. Galactic Legend now going to be used.
He was stunned out of it. NK got the ultimate canceled there. So 100 Thieves about to double down with 2 strategist ultimates of their own. Cal has popped the res, so they're not eager to get kills now. Sleepy, though, onto Delena, denies some of that damage follow-up. Terra so low, can't commit with the Winter Soldier ultimate. That's a painful spot to be.
Here we go, Space looking to end this fight. Meteor M doesn't get anything. No. 100 Thieves still in, looking for the way to flip. Looking now at TTK, has the Meteor M. Envy hanging on right now. They've done a lot to bring it back here so far. Galactic Legend in from NK, but here's the Meteor M. Dealing with a lot of it and taking down Space in turn with the aid of Terra. 100 Thieves now up 1. Delena in here from the back. Galactic Legend laying in the damage. Envy loses 1, but there's NK from the back. Deals with Delena. Envy not dead yet, but with Vinny laying in the damage on the point and the BRB bringing back in Delena. We have 100 Thieves with a real advantage here as Delena now doing a bit of cleanup, but the reses keep coming in, Jake.
Vinny knows they've got this round locked down. Don't even commit the Groot ult, so experience shines through there for 100 Thieves. However, Team Envy acquit themselves well here as a serious challenger here in the series. That was a very close round, very much back and forth. A lot of big plays from Cal there on the Adam Warlock, showing that depth of hero pool that, I mean, I was impressed in the last series, continuing to be so. NK as well. That's some pretty massive damage there on the Star-Lord.
Yeah, I mean, for Envy, they just had a tough start there, but once they actually got their footing, they were able to fight tooth and nail. And also, you think about both teams adapting to each other. We had that one fight, Jake, where we had a whole lot of ults being used, and no one was going down on both sides. As 100 Thieves, they really did have a very, very good disengage. And yet, Envy still found a way to make the fight work, at least for a little bit.
Yeah, SJP and Harvey on this Invisible Woman Rocket. It's an unconventional support duo with a lot of strategist ban, but it looks fantastic for them. SJP deathless, I think only 1 on Harvey. So that backline being so difficult to catch is a potential issue for Team Envy. Into this next round, though, they are going to go back to a classic 2-2-2 setup. Looks like they are going to just take the mirror here, and I don't mind this at all. This is a confidence play for Envy, but you need to be confident to be able to win this series.
Yeah, and I think the question here is, how does iRemix feel about the Groot? But also, the Strangling Prison coming up here early could really give an easy setup here to 100 Thieves. So All eyes on Vinny right now. Envy looking nice and clumped up. The prison ready to go for now. Good neutral damage onto Remix in turn. Moves forward, drops the prison's fall through, gonna be there. It is easy cleanup set up by Vinny.
Nice double wall combo there on the prison from Vinny. Gets that extra damage amp, and yeah, the ultimate is enough to get over the line. Very patient, waits out the Magneto bubble before deploying the ultimate. And the ultimate advantage is going to translate into a first cap. However, it's not going to last deeper into the round. Now it's Envy's turn to strike back here with an advantage in the bank. Can they make this offense work, though? Attacking into this point can be very awkward, very difficult, especially with somebody like Delena playing these off angles.
The defender's advantage on the stage is absolutely ridiculous, and that's before you get into considering the map just changing on you on a whim. But we'll see. Remix. Prison, good to go of his own. One of the strongest tools to set things up in combination with Cal. Delena, Blast Barrage over the top. You see the invisible boundary engaged early here from Envy. Terra, though, down. Space able to grab one right after. Early advantage here for Envy as they look to set this up. The Sia gonna be invested. TTK holding on the Meteor M. Do you save it? You're gonna have to because you're dead, Cal. The Kraken impact to put it in over the top. Envy will take control.
Cal didn't get the reset, but isn't looking to need it here. Starting to push forward on the Winter Soldier. Wants to stagger some of these spawners. Looking to take the fight to 100 Thieves. This is risky. This is very, very aggressive. However, something we come to expect from Team Envy. Now Terra, though, looking for a potential counter hook in these Winter Soldier duels off the rip. So critical. Terra, though, also lost the Kraken impact in that death early in the last fight.
Also, Cal's already at 47%. He is building ult at a ridiculous pace already. But you have to look here towards NK. Galactic Legend gonna be used here early by Delena on the other side. Meteor M used by Space in turn, negating a good amount of that. No kills though off the Meteor M Delena. Galactic Legend just about done. NK still holding his. Remix though, getting focused down. You see the pressure on the Remix. Remix is gonna die. Remix still somehow alive, but no. Focused down by Vinny. Meteor M used. Man advantage now for 100 Thieves. NK Galactic Legend in turn, looking for anything right now, not finding it. Now Paint, super close to invisible boundary, not gonna happen. The Kraken impact, the execute is there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful find. I love that awareness from Delena. Goes for that BRB before focusing down Remix, who I think was expecting to be able to get that res in. That would have been huge impact in the fight. But awareness of the matchup from Delena. Navigates it well. And once again, it's Vinny with the strangling prison. You do have defensive options, though, here for Team Envy as they look to make the retake with, once again, ultimate advantage.
If you're 100 Thieves, you're okay doing prison for boundary right now. In fact, that is your ideal setup that you're looking at here. Vinny is going to drop the prison pretty early, and it's going to be on Paint to look at the situation and go, do I need the boundary here? The answer ideally would be no, but I think the answer is going to be yes. Envy pushing on in. Vinny waiting for the prison. Both teams' prison actually on deck. Remix looking for the opportunity. The Sia is going to be dropped. The damage boost is in. The prison in from Remix. The fall through going to be there. And the invisible boundary out in time. Terra able to stay alive. Kills Remix in turn. And the BRB, though, brings Remix back up to the fight. Full strength, but it's Cal who gets bursted down. The Kraken impact from Terra, even bigger, Jake.
100 Thieves looking to close out this map. They have a legendary as well. Not even really necessary in the end. And although it's a very back and forth round there on Hell's Heaven, it's 100 Thieves who come away with a relatively decisive victory. That being said, Envy now with map pick. Curious to see where they take us, if we will get that vaunted Hella 1v1 that we're hoping for in the series.
So we're going to take the time to bring in Avast as we look at the stats screen. But Avast, Envy, having moments here. They didn't get blown out. It wasn't 100-0. And yet, it felt like 100 Thieves, in some respects, had to clear edge, particularly when you think about the group play and what Vinny was able to do to just keep them economically ahead.
Why am I sound like a burden? Didn't get an outro when you went into the map and then said, okay, we're going to take the time to bring him in. It sounded burdensome.
Avast was crying in the Discord, so we thought, you know, hey, bring him on.
Yep.
It's messed up. It's messed up. Well, I mean, I'm little bro posting, but overall, I'm going to say that I do think we talked a lot about the Hella ban, right? And we talked a lot about like what's the overall level of coordination for Envy, which is a little bit of a newer roster. You know, they've been working their way up versus obviously the 100 Thieves has a little bit longer history here in the game. They've getting a lot of support. They definitely look really good. And it showed there in that first map for domination, because I think removing the Hella, it definitely gave, I think, Envy a little bit of a pause there. Like, okay, we're not nearly as effective as like fighting for those flanks now. I think Cal still did a good job on the Winter Soldier, and Cal is obviously still very talented on that role, but maybe missing some of that impact. And then additionally, and more importantly, is when you're playing these very long, drawn-out fights, there's a lot of Star-Lord back and forth, you know, popping a Meteor to absorb that damage. That's where Envy's kind of struggled a bit more, is in those ult leapfrog fights. Even that last fight there, you see like, okay, we dropped the strengthening prison. Well, guess what? There was an invisible boundary. They didn't force that before. They had no option to, they weren't able to focus fire anyone else through that ult. And then it was just a counter ult scenario for 100 Thieves, where they're just wall them off, drop the strengthening prison, drop a Kraken impact, finish them, right? Because they've already removed that strategy ult earlier from Envy from the side of Sleepy. So I do, or from Paint actually. So I will say that the coordination difference here is definitely looking a little bit more apparent when you look at the ult cycling in particular for these teams.
Yeah, I feel like also the front line, you know, I think Vinny had a pretty clear advantage when it came to the group. Map 1, of course, not being matched on the group, and then map 2 just coming up a little bit stronger in the mirror. Maybe it was the strategist as well from Envy a little bit too late to pop that invisible woman barrier that allowed Remix to get bursted down first. It's a critical kill, right? If you lose your Groot in the front line, you're just in major trouble. And Vinny, so experienced in the matchup, really knows how to get the most. And not just Vinny, but the whole team understands how to support the Groot in this matchup. It's a place where I have to imagine the experience pays dividends for 100 Thieves.
I think what I'm really curious to see going forward is we saw a little bit about Envy's preferences in the last match, right? Where Envy decided to come in and go, okay, we lost, we're gonna go to Midtown, and we're gonna give everyone watching a whole ton of Hella Tech to copy as Cal rewrites the book on where you can actually stand, right? I think it'll be interesting to see if Envy does something like banning the Hella again, or we'll see something along the lines of maybe an early Wolverine ban and take the Hella versus Hella on the Midtown, because Envy did give us a pretty good idea of how they wanted to play that map in particular. But, you know, we'll see if there's a difference in how they treat Sentinels here at Vast relative to how they treat 100 Thieves.
I would say that you're probably going to be definitely treating them differently, because Sentinels and 100 Thieves have very different playstyles, right? You're not, Sentinel's still prioritizing a lot of those triple Vanguard comps, sometimes playing some of those interesting like triple strategist comps. And then they, I think in this, you know, most recently, so this tournament this week has been a lot more priority on the 2-2-2. But really, realistically, 100 Thieves has always been like a pretty 2-2-2 oriented team, even when they're back when they're mutants, right? So I do think that they're probably going to be approaching this very differently. I think they don't want to play into the Wolverine either. I don't think Envy really has ever really prioritized or looked like they try to play a lot of Wolverine comps or try to play into Wolverine. So I think they're pretty happy to not have to worry about that, because especially 100 Thieves has a very strong Wolverine play if they choose to pull it out. So probably going to be looking to make sure that's not played. And I do think they also want to keep Magneto in play here, because Space, even though the Vanguard line struggled into Vinny's Groot, and Vinny looking like potentially the best Groot, if definitely in an A, you know, fighting up there with like Nevix on the side of EU as well. I think they want to keep the Magneto up because Space gets a lot of value from the Bulwarks. And obviously it's got a little bit of muscle memory from another game he played, I think, in terms of the bubbles. So I think it's a bit of muscle memory there too. So going to Midtown, I would not be surprised if they try to mirror the Hella here. I wouldn't be shocked.
I think the threat of the Wolverine is neutered a little bit on Midtown. It's just a longer range map, a little bit more open. I mean, that being said, I think that's a place where 100 Thieves are going to derive a pretty big advantage. Even if they don't play the Wolverine, I actually think it shows such intelligence to protect it, because it is something, like you mentioned, that Envy, they're experienced in the hero shooter genre, but Wolverine is a different game. When Wolverine is on the server, it's about understanding the limits, about cooldown management, because if you just like step out of line, and you know, even if you're winning the deathmatch brawl, you just overstep your position and you're just instant dead to Wolverine. You know, he turns around and one-shots your backline. Like, there's so much crazy stuff you have to worry about in the Wolverine matchup. That's a place where I think Envy, with having less experience, I don't think they're really ready to take that matchup. I think that's a very much a test of your team play, your experience in the matchup, much more than like your individual aim skill in terms of battling a Wolverine. So I think 100 Thieves keeping that threat alive. Maybe you do have to like first ban it as Envy, but that hurts. It hurts to be forced to first ban Wolverine. You know, and then there's the Hella to think about. You're in a spot here where you have a lot of things you need to ban out, and only 2 bans to really get those jobs done here.
Jake, I think you hit a really good point, which is the idea is that even if you don't necessarily want to play the Wolverine, the threat that you could play the Wolverine is just creating big draft advantages for 100 Thieves. It's kind of one of those things like, well, you know, it's not in your toolbox, we could actually play it, but really we just want to play other stuff we want to protect. But heading into the ban protect here, we have Loki getting banned first for 100 Thieves, so they're keeping with that, and Strange banned at the same time, so nothing changing the MVN. We'll see if it's a Magneto protect, and Vast, we are flying through this ban protect.
To be expected. I mean, Envy wants to play Magneto. I think they're really comfortable with space on Magneto. I also think 100 Thieves banning Loki a lot makes a lot of sense, because Sleepy has played a lot of Loki and looked really good on it. I mean, it's also essentially DPS, and they protected the Wolverine. So guess what? Wolverine threat is still on the field, and that's why you protect Magneto.
I think you could call the bluff on this map though for Envy and leave the Hela in, because I think it's a map where you don't necessarily need both Hanamura and Winter Soldier to deal with the Wolverine threat.
Good.
They are going to ban the Groot. I actually love this. I think this is much smarter. I think Vinny kind of put that work in on you last map, and like letting the game be a little bit more fast-paced and divey, adding that chaotic element to the game. I think that only benefits Envy, where they are relying on their duelists. They're relying on their individual playmaking, even from players like Space, like Sleepy and Paintbrush. So maybe for 100 Thieves, this denies some of the very stable front line of Vanguards that they've come to play around.
I think more directly than that, I just think from what I've seen from iRemix here tonight, iRemix good more on things that are a little bit more divey. I don't think Groot is necessarily his absolute biggest strength, and at the very least in the group mirror, it was more in Vinny's advantage. So I think Envy recognized that, they made the adjustment, and I'm excited to see how it plays out on Midtown. But Avast, we're about to head into game. Any final or parting words here before we get it on?
Oh, that's so kind of you. I've actually already leaned back in my chair, so I brought my mic a lot closer to me. But I'm gonna say that this match, we talk a lot about the threat of the Wolverine, and what's so important here for Envy is, are they gonna try to build out something very different? With Groot being banned, like Jake pointed out, Groot off the field, especially for a player like Vinny not able to use it, is really huge for Envy here. So a lot of this strategy is gonna be determined, how does Envy want to play with their Vanguards, and how do they want to take this space on this first point?
I heard a lot of smart things from Avast, and I just want to see Hellas shoot each other in the head this map. That's all I care about here. As well, Winter Soldier, gonna be high impact, so I think this is a lot on the duelist of the map. And there's Cal lighting it up onto Delana.
I just wrote chat, there's a lot of 100 Thieves fans coming in being like, yeah, Cal's good, but he's no Delina. Cal heard you. Cal heard you talking crap. Came in, immediately takes the Hela mirror. Jake, I think we're in for a show, because both these Hellas are fantastic.
Cal's a big dog on the server here. You got to put some respect on the name. He's standing here confidently out in the open. Some might say even with a bit of cockiness here, very aware though of the enemy threat, the threat rather that Delana poses. And with the Invisible Woman support so critical in that matchup.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, it gives you the time to get another 3 or 4 daggers out, which can be the difference between just outright eliminating someone safely. Make it so you don't have to worry about dodging within that period of time. 100 Thieves though, keeping the convoy moving forward here early. Sia gonna be dropped here by Sleepy. Delana meanwhile gets taken down by Cal again. Jake, there's a lot of factors here, but if you're keeping score, that's 2-0 Cal.
No, Cal's my goat. I am keeping score. Big dog on the server. Drops him again off the BRB. Hey, resin one more time. But he wants that smoke, man. Cal is fearless here in the matchup. Drops SJP, and they're just wiping 100 Thieves off the server. Can you think of another time 100 Thieves has just been routed like this on the Hela matchup? Starting to get a little bit scary. I mean, we got a lot of map to play here, ZP, but man, is 100 Thieves gonna have to ban Hela this series?
I mean, maybe. That's what respect you would have for 100 Thieves and Delana in particular versus Cal. But also, I mean, I feel like the blueprint has been set here that no one's gonna let Envy play Hela if this keeps up.
Oh, what a pull from NK. Grabs the support. Without SJP, you can't keep pushing. NK now doubles up onto Delana. And once again, walking up from 100 Thieves with confidence, they just get smoked by these duelists. This game is starting to get scary. Half the time off the clock, and Envy haven't even deployed an ultimate yet.
Well, also, how many times has 100 Thieves had to deal with a situation where Delana just wasn't absolutely crushing the other Hela? I don't think it's really happened almost ever. So this is a change in game plan. It's just like, wait, what's going on in this moment? I mean, Delana of all people can definitely bring it on back, but what a statement by Envy here early on as Terra finds Cal. That's one way to end the Hela threat.
Yeah, will Envy try to double down with that elimination though onto NK? Cal was rezzed by the BRB, so it's a 5-on-6 here. 100 Thieves with the slight advantage. Big ultimates though on the cards for Team Envy if they want to continue fighting this one out. Seems like they will for now, but the stuns coming through, they're able to burst down space. It's up to Cal maybe to find a clutch pick. He gets one, needs I think one more to be able to make this defense happen, but Delana very aware with the Invisible Woman ult of his own, stabilizes on the point.
Invisible boundary drop. The Sia about to be burned on down. Goddess of Death on deck here for Delana. Thing coming on in. Delana right now just content to sit here, do a little bit of tank damage. Kraken impact though going to be used here by NK. NK gonna get the resets right now. It's looking like no. Meteor M comes in, no one dead. Goddess of Death in from Delana, laying down the crow shots. Is that gonna be enough? Meanwhile, Delana in over the top. Envy still at full. Cal looking for a little bit of damage. It's NK who finishes off Vinny as Envy now momentum. They push forward, Jake.
in space. He's uninterested in the Vanguard duel, looking straight into the back line. Cal finds a couple more eliminations, and Envy bend, but they do not break there. It's a beautiful hold, despite a couple pickoffs coming in from 100 Thieves. Envy with the wherewithal to find their way through. Now ultimate's very low. SJP does have that Sia, but even last time, Envy backed out incredibly well against this. It is an advantage, though, pushing forward in the poke mare. It's going to be challenging for the Envy tanks to stay healthy.
Envy last time around weren't able to withstand the Namor combos. Not a factor here. Invisible boundary in.
NK.
It's a huge pick. It's an early pick. And Cal onto the back line is able to get SJP. The duelists of Envy continue to feast. Delina, though, takes down Cal. A little bit of life here for 100 Thieves. 4 left. Invisible boundary, though, soon to fade. Delina able to take down Sleepy. Delina now opening up some room here. NK, though, over and in. Kraken impact. Takes down Delina. Looking for more. Again is out. And is this going to be enough? The payload is just getting completely contested on all sides. But 100 Thieves, the tank line is back on in, Jake. And it might keep them alive.
Oh, it's a beautiful hold there from 100 Thieves. That BRB getting in just in time. And that pickoff from Delena onto Sleepy made all the difference. Without that key sustain from Rocket Raccoon, Envy, they weren't able to win the long fight. They do run the time bank all the way down to 0. But 100 Thieves find a reprieve here on Midtown.
Envy unable to do a first point hold back to back. If you think back, just one series ago, but still they drain a lot of time off the clock. It's been a good defense here so far. Space, Meteor M, ready to go. Remix, ready to check his watch. Ask, what time is it? Both Vanguards moving forward. Clobbering time is used. Space
no value off that, it seems, from Remix. Oh, but they do find Terra. The opportunity here.
There's enough disruption, but they go a little bit deep. Terra is brought back up by the BRB. Terra now laying in the damage on the Winter Soldier. Getting the good picks, drops the Kraken impact, and now it's just about a bit of cleanup.
Yeah, more than a bit. Perfect tool for the job is that Winter Soldier ultimate. And Envy, it's a fight very close to 100 Thieves spawn, but 100 Thieves getting it done with only the one ultimate has got to feel amazing. And they really don't have so much room for mistakes with how hard that first point was. That being said, you get a quick cap here on second, and you're very much back in the fight.
This fight right here, even with the minute 30, could really decide it, because both teams are going to invest a lot in ultimate power, and whoever comes out on top is going to carry that momentum forward. But here we go. Underway. TTK here in the back. Meteor M, good to go. Remix is getting bursted, and Remix, it lives, but at the cost of Space, who goes down. The healing swapped off. Remix turns a corner. Nothing but death there. And 100 Thieves in the neutral right now, Jake. Looking great.
Yeah, respawn in, coming in off the BRB, but it's not enough just yet. Envy, I think they need to find a pick here to hold on to this. Vinny continue to pour on the aggression, but Cal pops that Goddess of Death, trying to pump damage, but just gets instantly focus fired through, and the invisible boundary is delaying the inevitable, but spawns coming in here for Envy as they try to fight back, try to keep this alive.
Meteor M out from Space. Delina laying down shots here from that Goddess of Death right now, just covering fire, gets decent value out of it. No pickoffs though, just yet. Terra, ready to go. Kraken impact has been used, but the reset comes on in, waiting. Is Terra gonna live? Terra under a heavy assault. Delina, meanwhile, was able to take down Cal in the duels versus duelist as Terra continues to jump around. Point 2, gonna go 100 Thieves' way.
They get it done. That's a solid push through point 2, but Envy, they ran the clock down very well here for Midtown. I think 100 Thieves are gonna be, based on how the start of the map went, gonna be feeling pretty happy they're on third point at all. Now, ultimate bank's fully drained. Back, I think the pressure on these duelists. Who can get that opening kill? Cal has been great in this part of the map.
Cal has been redefining the meta in this part of the map, just figuring out walls. This is like, that could be condemned. I'm gonna use this as a place to stand. Cal, the innovative tech. But here we go, frontline, thing versus thing. Sleepy, likely about to drop the Sia. Vinny, about to say, what time is it? Sia is dropped, 100 Thieves. Gotta give it a little bit of respect, but as I say, that clobbering time is dropped and the fall through immediately there. Delina following in, 2 down for Envy, and 100 Thieves just gets to casually roll forward.
Cal under heavy pressure here, being assaulted by Vinny, getting a ton of support, is gonna just drop. Try to take the reset, but 100 Thieves really found their footing now on Midtown. Envy have struggled since, they had a great start of the map, look so strong, but now 100 Thieves seem to have stabilized. They found their opportunity to get aggressive in the matchup, and Envy haven't been able to find that solid defensive setup they've been looking for.
30 seconds left. 100 Thieves has been under the gun in terms of time for quite a while right now because of point A. And now Remix moving on in. Drops a clobbering time. They're looking for the focus fire onto Magneto. TTK, though, able to shrug it off. Sia, drop from SJP. Still adding bonus damage to the 100 Thieves squad. Envy, though, deals with the worst of it. Space, Meteor M, good to go. NK locked and loaded. Cal is down. Delina getting a little bit of revenge off the flank. Envy now has to win 5v6. Delina here on the flank, the goddess of death. Great opportunity, another 2 picks. And Delina showing signs of life. Could be enough for 100 Thieves to finish this out.
I think it will be, despite NK shutting it down. It's Terra cleaning up here with the Kraken impact from Winter Soldier. Just a little bit of stall there for Sleepy on the rocket, and it will be a full cap for 100 Thieves. It is an overtime. So Envy, that first hold was so strong, just enough to really run the clock down to secure an overtime capture. However, 100 Thieves, I think they did find their footing in the map. I think Cal was just doing different things on point 1, finding so many pickups. But 100 Thieves, I mean, props to them. They're a team that hasn't often been pushed to the limit in the duelist mirrors, but Delena and Terra, they found their opportunities, right? Like they weren't mentally broken by the way that map started.
And not only that, I do think 100 Thieves played the ult economy side a little bit better. I think Envy really did have a real chance of stopping it at point 1, similar to what happened with their match versus Sentinels. But when they just needed a full stop, they weren't able to find it. Delina came out, had better plays. Vinny and TTK in particular were able to just stay alive just long enough. And Terra, perhaps the real person to talk about there, Jake, just the foundational glue to keeping 100 Thieves in those fights where the Kraken impacts were pretty much always on point.
Yeah, pretty massive. I am seeing a pretty huge damage gap there with TTK doing almost 6,000 damage more than Space. So surprised to see that matchup be so dominant for TTK, really getting the most out of a frontline trade.
And I think part of that is just Space has been under pressure a lot. When you see that little damage gap on your Magnetos, it means that one Magneto's had the shield up a whole lot more than the others. So it kind of tells you a little bit about the tempo and flow of the fight so far. Because I doubt it's something like Space is not hitting shots. It's just you can't shoot.
I mean, he has huge.
His
accuracy is insane. That's the thing. You're exactly right. He has 63% accuracy, so he's not missing. He's just, yeah, like you said, forced into a more defensive posture. Maybe the team electing to emphasize enabling those DPS. Cal looking to go for a tricky off angle here on the offense. I like this play. Wants to find those opening picks that were so powerful on the defense.
Also, I think to extent looking for Delina, this is a real recognized real moment. Just going, I know who the threat is. I think they both know who the threat is here, and you know, the
Cart's
Hella
rolling forward,
stalking
and
Hella.
be happy with this. Like, Envy have no problem. I mean, if you don't stop Cart, like, Cal doesn't really have to do anything. Now, 100 Thieves, though, this is the hold that they were planning for, where they're really going to make their stand is at this choke point.
Full neutral, no ultimates in play. Both teams looking for an edge, and the damage on the Terra severe. Terra nearly getting picked off. Now returning fire here with the team up. Unlimited ammo, quite nice, but TTK can't get away. Remix able to get the final blow there.
Res
the
back
BRB
in, though.
The BRB limits the impact. So you're still at a full 6, but you are giving up a lot of positioning right now as Envy keeps pushing forward. They drop the Sia right now. Terra real close to getting Kraken impact, wants to do it, but time is running out. They lose Delina, but here we go. Kraken impact just in the nick of time. Evens things out 5-on-5. Ready for one more. Moving on up. Has to prop it here soon. Who's gonna lose it? Instead gets pulled. Jake loses the second impact.
That's so important. Cal finds one. Space with another. And Envy cracking this defense wide open. The Kraken impact from NK seems to be just enough here to get this first capture online. And I mean, that's a minute 30 on the first cap. This is a beautiful offense so far from Envy.
What a well-timed bionic hook coming in from NK there. Just when Terra's about to say one more time, NK says, how about you go back to spawn? Space now. Meteor M, good to go. Same with 100 Thieves. Ult economy going to be crucial here, Jake, into second.
We haven't been giving enough love to NK. This guy's been great to watch, whether it's on the Winter Soldier, the Namor, across the matches today. Terra, though, finds the first opener here. 100 Thieves have a bit of an advantage, trying to push it here, trying to shut down that next duelist. Envy tactically retreating, but under a ton of pressure. 100 Thieves are just withering in their offense.
I think the scary part in this and Hell v Hell matchup is that when one of the Hellas is down, it means that either Delina or Cal doesn't really have anyone left to check them. And that is a horrifying spot to be in. But the hook is huge, Jake. But the fall through might not be there right away. It forces out the Meteor M. That's a good trade of resources off the hook. You love to see it as Envy's able to get away without losing anyone. Big.
Yeah, Remix gets out, gets healed up, so opportunity here for Sleepy to open with the Sia, but once again, Terra shuts down Cal, struggling to find the way through these difficult choke points. Now Terra sweeps over to the flank. Envy gonna double down, gonna try to fight this anyway, and they do even up 5-5.
Terra dove pretty deep for the Cal kill. You get the Cal kill, but you don't get out with your life. Even back up 5 versus 5 space now. Up in the front here with Remix, tank versus tank. Vanguard's getting down and dirty here in the front. And now Cal, Gods to Death, ready to go. Remix with the clobbering time. The Sia dropped here by 100 Thieves. Envy, though, shrugging off the most of the poke damage. And we look at NK, Kraken Impact good to go. Looking for a bionic arm here, perhaps. And Zelina is down. Paint with the assist there with Cal. And they get the advantage and they just move forward, Jake, economically at that.
Vinny just has to die on card here. No hope to escape, no hope to retreat and fight another day. They're just hoping they can get the spawns in time. Envy able to win that fight off picks. That's critical because now they're able to take position around this final capture point. It's 100 Thieves on the retake. They do have this invisible woman barrier to help delay things. However, Envy have a lot of aggressive pressure. It's going to be difficult to walk up.
100 Thieves, though, needs a contest, but they lose NK immediately. Terra, first pick off. The BRB, though, brings them right back into play. Remix. Focused on the payload, saying, hey, if you guys got for a second, we're going to move it on in. Zelina gets picked, also rezzed right up. Both teams, while Space gets picked. Now, Remix into the back line. Pressure's going to be on him. Delina with the Goss of Death, pushing Envy back. Envy, Jake, now must reset.
Yeah, they got to fall back there. Too many picks came in. 100 Thieves, they had to dump everything to get the job done, but that opening pick was pretty massive onto NK. Baited out the BRB, and then when the Vanguard fell, there was no res to follow up, not allowing Envy to double down and re-engage. That being said, ultimate advantage now strongly in favor of Envy. 100 Thieves want to force out the support ultimate very early, but I don't think they're going to be able to do that. Envy taking position, moving into the inside.
Right now, you're hoping Terra can make something happen. You look to Terra and Delina, get a pick in the neutral before the ults really become a factor here. The invisible boundary is going to make things really difficult, but if you get one before it drops, the advantage could be yours. Delina right now, working on the outside flank. Remix, moving over into the point, and they're giving a lot of attention to the DPS that are trying to flank to the upper left. Now, though, into the payload. They need to hurry, though, before the ult stacking gets too big. Now, they're looking for it. Pressure onto Vinny. Vinny, though, able to just get to the side.
Envy haven't found any crack in the defense yet. 100 Thieves holding strong despite the ultimate disadvantage, and every second they buy is one where they're continuing to charge ultimates. Remix goes into the backline, wants to deal with that. The invisible boundary, though, is enough. Two openers come in for NK, has the Kraken Impact if he wants to look for more. Very likely to continue this pressure. 100 Thieves, desperation, running to the cart. They've got that execution threshold on the thing. He's so incredibly little. Bubble, though, from Space saves NK's life. The critical difference maker.
It also stops Terra from doing more Kraken impacts. Envy hanging on to this fight. Both teams, though, still very much in it. NK, super low, dead from TTK. Now Terra gets the team up, drops more shots. The BRB, though, brings Terra, NK right back in. Terra now dead. 100 Thieves down one. Envy with the advantage on the point. Clobbering time going to be used as Envy right now stays on the payload. They need at least one more pick. 100 Thieves is doing just God's work on stalling right now, Jake, but finally Harvey goes down, and could this be it?
Yeah, the tempo seems to be turning against them here. Envy still full 6 players alive, now focusing down. These defenders stalling the objective, and similar time banks. Both teams had about a minute 50 here coming into third point. Let's see if Envy can replicate that aggressive success that 100 Thieves had on their defense.
All right, a minute 40 left to go. I mean, 100 Thieves, given that they completed the map, I think they're still okay with this, but very even across the board. These next two fights will decide it all. And let's see how Cal approaches this attack. A lot of areas to set up flanks here, but also dangerous with the opposition on the other side.
You got to take risks here in the damage duel. You know, it's all about taking those flanks, finding the openers. For now, Car continues to roll, so 100 Thieves electing to be biding their time here, defend the next corner. See a pop from both squads, so it's a 1-for-1 ult trade for now. Both duelists, I think, looking to find a cheeky pickoff. Remix, oh, whoa, can't step around that corner. Way too much focus fire. NK, though, uses the distraction, finds one. The res comes in onto Remix and Delena, so no res is left available.
Still full 6v6. Meteor M, though. Death from above. TTK looking, and no, instead it's Cal going down. Cal, I think, getting caught by Delena and Harvey. Combo not coming back up from the BRB. Meteor M, though, out from Space. It's huge! Space dunks on down onto the support line. There's no heals left for 100 Thieves here, Jake. A massive ult coming in from Space.
Delena on the back line, needs to be the hero, needs to find a critical pick off there. Cal, I think, made it into the bird and now calls out that team. Everyone else is going to be aware of his position. Does he pop the Goddess of Death? No, he's going to die, and I'm not sure Delena's going to be able to get back to this fight. It's going to be desperation for 100 Thieves. They've got to touch. They have that invisible boundary, though, so maybe they can make this happen. NK looking to stifle that before it can even begin. The execution barrier down on the cart, but defensive ults come out from 100 Thieves.
Yeah, and it's a great boundary. It's an immediate cleanup. There's no real resources for Envy to deal with it, but they also can't back out, Jake. 3 seconds left. 100 Thieves Their defense holding strong. Envy so close, yet so far on the attack. And yet, on the same note, a great showing from Envy, even in the loss.
Yeah, despite the series being 2-0 for 100 Thieves, they have been sweating for these victories. Envy has really shown them a serious challenge so far in the series, and I'm very curious to see where we go for map 3. I mean, 100 Thieves may end up carrying the day, but this is an Envy squad that is far from realizing their full potential. I think this is a really exciting development for North American Marvel Rivals, because we haven't really had that team is taking it 200 Thieves in the raw aim duels, in the raw skill duels, and Envy is doing just that here.
Vest, we just saw Cal and Delina head-to-head on the Hella duels. What are your immediate thoughts here, first time seeing it in the match?
Very well. First of all, I think it was pretty close. I don't think that was a gap by any means. I think this was Cal played really well in that. I think what was actually even more interesting than the Hella duels was the composition of that map, because of the bans, where we saw like, okay, we had the Doctor Strange ban, we had the Luna Snow ban, we also had the Loki ban. There was the first time I think in a while at a tier 1 at a top level Marvel Rivals I've seen both teams playing Rocket Raccoon for the entirety of the map. So they had Rocket Raccoon in for the entirety of the map, giving that team up to the Winter Soldier, just giving the infinite ammo, giving the increased fire rate. So it was very, very interesting to see that particular point here, where these teams were playing an extremely poke-heavy style, trying to build the amplifier really quickly, and then essentially using the BRB as a replacement for Hella's team up with Loki, getting that res back, right? So I do think when I look at Envy, I look at 100 Thieves, what was really the biggest difference, once again, was A, the ult cycling. Continuously, 100 Thieves does a lot better job of ult cycling than Envy still, which makes sense considering the maturity of the roster. And B, I do think Envy sometimes struggles a bit on the focus fire, especially when you're dealing with a poke-heavy comp where there's not a lot of heals here in the field, because yes, Rocket Raccoon has a lot of pure healing, but doesn't have a lot of, I guess, utility. That is where 100 Thieves, once again, is coming out here on top, is just cycling the ults and getting the focus fire. And Envy probably just needs to clean it up a bit.
Yeah, some of these fights I think take a very long time to clean up for Envy, right? Like when they're capping the point, even though they do end up winning out in the end. I mean, 100 Thieves looked really practiced in these stalling scenarios, in the delay scenarios, and they're very much aware of their win conditions, right? They're able to set up this final fight on the map where they have the decisive portal advantage, they have the invisible boundary for that critical fight. I mean, the only one that matters is the one where you're able to secure the hold. So got to give a lot of respect to 100 Thieves. They are clearly so far in the series the stronger team overall, but I think just for this Envy squad, I mean, there's a lot of hope for the future being shown in the way they're performing.
Now, what I'm curious on is that, does Envy follow the same playbook? Because you remember back to their match versus Sentinels, they went to Midtown and they had a close loss. Very similar to what we just saw now. Now going forward, they went into Hall of Dajalia in their first series. I think we may go back there again, but given the difference between Sentinels and 100 Thieves Vest, I feel like it's just going to be a very different match, especially, just simply as you were pointing out, the bans that are being put down here are leading to very different games.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think what's also another highlight here when we talk about going to this next map is, okay, Luna Snow was banned, so neither team played Namor, because like we don't have the team up, we're not going to get the frozen spawn. But especially on a map like Midtown, I really think Envy, especially with NK, who had looked so good on Namor previously, earlier today, I would have liked them to still try to see the Namor. Yes, is the Namor value definitely lessened without the Luna Snow, but you have the extra ability to take really aggressive flank fights. If you're playing into the Rocket Raccoon comp, which is possible again if we see similar bans, they can walk behind, drop to spawn, immediately delete like a Rocket Raccoon, right? And especially because like a lot of those rocket fights and the fights that are happening between like Sleepy and SJP is just like they're moving into like kind of clean up the damage, similar to how a Loki is functioning occasionally, like just getting a little bit of extra value from the damage that's taking place and the mobility. So I would kind of like to see them potentially bring out the Namor again for NK, because I think NK looked really good on that pick, and also lessens a lot of the pretty much the firepower that they're directing towards the front line there for the vanguards of Envy.
I think it's an interesting choice there between something like the Winter Soldier and the Namor, in terms of Winter Soldier giving you that playmaking and like some of the tank focus fire, being able to pull people out of position, where Namor gives you this like unique opportunity to like explode through flanks. And if the enemy's not mirroring the Namor, it can be very annoying to clean up those spawns. I think a lot of teams are really valuing the team up, not only for the obvious team up, right? The fact that it gives you the third spawn, it gives you you know, that like extra stat bonus for Luna's healing. But I think also being able to damage amp with the Luna ultimate on the Namor whale and get that one-shot combo is like super, like, whereas a lot of the team up I think are about the team up, and like it gives you this special ability or some stat bonus. It's really good. I think for the Luna Namor, it's almost more about that like strategic synergy, and then the team up is like a nice bonus on top of that. We are going to go to Hall of the Jolly, and I like this for Team Envy though. I think you can't back down from believing that you're the better team in like the raw aim duels. You have the stronger duelists. That has brought them to be, you know, to these very close first 2 maps in the series. And I think if you are going to win, it's not going to be by giving up on your strengths.
And speaking of not giving up your strengths, I do think it's really interesting just building the narrative of what is the identity of Envy, right? Because they are a newer team to Marvel Rivals, essentially made right before the Marvel Rivals Invitational for North America. They're building experience right now, and they're also building their identity. But man, have we got a lot of data just in these 2 matches here of what they like to play, where, okay, they lose a map, they go Midtown. They lose Midtown, they go Hall of Dajalia. And I mean, part of it is what they like to play, right? Both of these maps are maps where you can get good mileage off your Hella plays. I also think they're maps where it's like the way they're playing with the front line between Remix and Space, right? It's kind of interesting because they're maps that are like pretty solid for Magneto, but also maps where you have like room to make things happen on things. So, you know, Envy has kind of decided, okay, we have our current style. These are like the fields of battle we want to go to. The problem here now, Vaso, is that even should they win here in Hall of Dajalia, it'll be 100 Thieves deciding the maps for the rest of the series from there on out.
Well, I mean, they reverse sweep Sentinels earlier,
yeah.
So it's in, you know, the old man strength is potentially still real, and I do think that's a really good point too, as well as when we're going to Hall of Dajalia, is this is a map where you get a lot of opportunities. You get a lot of opportunities to take the fights. You get a lot more time than a domination map. And like you talked about, they're playing a very split style. They're letting their vanguards take a lot of that space. As the Loki's banned again, as 100 Thieves, they really don't want Sleepy to be on Loki, which is also something I think that's like defining this match a lot, is they're denying the Loki from Sleepy a lot. And sure, Envy's going to deny the Doctor Strange, but I think 100 Thieves is perfectly okay with that when you have things like Groot and Magneto still on the board.
One thing I want to see from 100 Thieves here is they've been protecting this Wolverine. It looks like sort of a mind game so far in the series. They haven't deployed it. I think there's also a very good argument for protecting the Groot here on Hall of Dajalia. Get Vinny back on the Groot, where I think he had a clear edge on map 1 that further stabilizes the game and really puts it in your favor. See if 100 Thieves elect to go for that, or if I mean, honestly, the Wolverine I think is not very good on this map in general. So yeah, even if they protect it, I think this is a map where it's like especially like not really the hero to protect, and then I don't even know if Envy would ban it based on how the series has gone so far. So yeah, really the Groot response. I think this is really smart, and I think this is where Vinny can really push the edge he has in the tank experience. I think his mechanics on the Groot are just really, really strong, and that's something that is hard to match for Remix.
Here's what I think for Envy. I think you don't even necessarily need to ban the Wolverine here. It hasn't been shown the entire game. I don't know if 100 Thieves would even go to it here. I mean, you can if you want to be sure, but this is where maybe you look at it and you wonder, what else can you take out that might be a little bit more core to the game plan? And okay, they've taken away my point. I was going to say Winter Soldier. I think that makes sense because between the two, NK's been good, but Terra has been even better. Terra has been the duelist backbone for 100 Thieves this series, not even Delina, as far as I'm concerned. And this, I think, puts more of the load lifting on to Delina, which might be good for Cal in the Hell of a Hell matchup. But Vast, we're about to get into it. Your final thoughts here with the Winter Soldier ban coming in at the very end.
I think it's just a cascade effect here of Envy feeling pressured to protect the Magneto for space, right? Because space on that hero pick is so powerful because they're always afraid of the Wolverine, despite even though, like, and I agree with Jake's take on this, is that I don't think the Wolverine's maybe going to be that strong here, but they're kind of afraid of it. And they want to keep space on the Magneto, which gave him the opportunity to pretty much protect the Groot. And now with Winter Soldier being gone, I think it's a very smart idea. But this map, I don't think it's entirely necessary. I don't think you have to have Winter Soldier. I think it removes Terra from the field a little bit, but I wouldn't even be surprised if 100 Thieves might even try to still force the Wolverine, but don't take anything that comes out of Spawn crazy yet. You know, we're probably going to see a Hela. We're probably going to see Star-Lords as a duelist pick, and it's just going to be kind of a dogfight.
Yeah, they still have the Adam Warlock team up is not banned, so we could potentially see that. NK would look pretty solid on the Star-Lord on map 1. 400 Thieves, I'm not a huge believer in the Wolverine here, but and Envy for their side, they're just gonna say, you know what, we're not gonna play the group. We can win with the thing, and I actually like this. I think playing into the mirror against 100 Thieves is not a great look. Rocket Raccoon booster over the flank. Cal, does Cal expect this? Maybe not, and that's a huge pickup from Delana. The experience on the Hela matchup showing.
Welcome to Marvel Rivals, says Delana to Cal. Yeah, you might have potential, but I knew you were there. Very quick pick off, just caught him with his pants down, and now gonna be
Wolverine
even less
full
threat
energy.
on Terra. Yeah, Terra just gets to drop the claws and do whatever he wants, really.
Yeah, and this is where the experience is a real challenge, because the Wolverine matchup, you really need to know the limits. You need to know when to focus fire Wolverine, when to ignore him. It's such a challenge. We've seen so many teams fall to those claws of Wolverine, and Envy, see if they have the answers here. They've been really put under pressure by the strategic diversity of 100 Thieves.
Cannot ask for a better start here for the first point. One of the hardest points to attack, and 100 Thieves make it look effortless with Delina's early pick onto the cow. Now we'll see where it goes. Terra moving forward, getting real close to getting last stand up and online. And I feel like Envy is
his
still
second
recovering.
life forced though on Terra, so he's a little bit vulnerable here. Has to be just a little bit more cautious. He's gonna go in, but doesn't get a grab there. So nice start to the fight, but Vinny's walls are just so annoying. Envy are unable really to fight into the objective with the threat of that wall.
Also, Delina had more than enough opening to go in, get on the cow. 2 picks now for 100 Thieves. And it doesn't get any better, because Terra is about to slash a few more times, last stand, and probably abduct 2 people. It's just really brutal, Jake, where Envy, they haven't recovered from the early picks.
Yeah, 100 Thieves looks so well practiced on the strategy. Now the Wolverine comes out in the series. Envy have been caught flat-footed. Now the pressure overwhelming onto Remix, gets shut down. The combo into that Groot, and the backline is just destroyed. The Cloak and Dagger ultimate from Sleepy isn't even close to enough. Now the Focus Fire just cleaving through that heal, and with 6 minutes onto the clock, 100 Thieves charging forward into third point. This is about one of the fastest speedruns I have ever seen.
I mean, right now, you stop and think about it. I just heard that sound there, and I got flashbacks from pub games of, like, vote to surrender almost. Just like,
yeah, right?
That is how brutal that this opening has been for Envy. 100 Thieves, anything that could go right has gone right. TTK, though, getting very, very low, nearly picked off, was able to back out.
And Wolverine is great on third as well. I mean, first and second, I think the Wolverine is a little more suspect on this map, but third point, super powerful. Legendary Pop going to be defended right now by the Meteor M. See if NK can get much done. Looks like the supports are very safe, very conscious of this possibility. Wolverine isn't even forced into the second life. Now grabs Groot, pulls him into the back line, and it's an easy pickup for 100 Thieves with the Vinny slamming the door on that choke point.
Remix is not going to do well in this mirror when he has to worry about a Wolverine and the other group. It is not going to end well, Jake. I'm just letting you that know right now. Cal, Goddess of Death, blocked by the pillar. A lot of pillar line of sight issues there as Delina takes down Cal's, the Goddess of Death fades, and this is a rout, an absolute slaughter in favor of 100 Thieves.
I was worried we might see this in the series. I mean, the Wolverine is such a threat, and for a team that is maybe relying a bit on their FPS prowess, maybe a little bit less experience. It's a disgusting cleanup there from Vinny on the Groot. But the Wolverine, I mean, you need to be very, very clean, very, very smart to be able to beat it and have a great understanding of the matchup. And when it comes to that, that's where 100 Thieves have had a clear edge. They've tried to beat Envy with brute force. And I think, honestly, you got to give respect to Envy for forcing 100 Thieves to dig deeper in the strat book. But the book is very deep, very thick for 100 Thieves right now.
Oh boy, you know, Hastro's PC just got like an alert saying your subscription to an even match has expired. Would you like to make any changes to your subscription plan? I mean, I don't know. This was, it was rough, to say the least.
Look, we've been hyping Envy a lot. We've been hyping Envy a lot. They've been great in the series. It's been awesome to see a new entrant to the top level of competition here in Rivals Fight Night. But 100 Thieves, they're interested in that check. They would like to check now. They would like to finish this series 3-0.
You know, as much as people got on the iRemix reverse sweep hashtag, that's pretty rough. That was you were getting close to like canonically best time possible you could do. Yeah,
you're getting into 007 territory. Cal and Remix, and that was the offense. This map is so defense favored. Oh, yo, this game is like basically done, ZP. Like I really don't see how Envy can get back into it. I mean, this is a map we routinely see full held on second point. That's like a normal. If you get held on second point, I still feel like, you know what, you could win that on defense. You could make the full hold. You just got absolutely blitzed out of the game. 4:30 on the clock, man. GG.
Yeah, also, I'm going to do a rare thing. We're going to bring in our analyst mid-game here just because of Ast. You've seen a lot of car crashes in competitive hero shooters. I mean, where's this one rank right now after that round?
more importantly, SJP was 1 assist off the pie game. 3 and 15. Just one assist off the pie game. So very close, but unfortunately not in the day. But I will say that right now it's looking very, very hard for Envy. I like the swap to this Venom, but the Wolverine is giving them a lot of trouble.
Second life force though. Wolverine weak on this first point. It's a lot of open space.
Yeah. Terra nearly going down. Now right back into it. Envy looking a little bit better here so far. They get their first elimination of the match. NK on the board.
Terra though.
Immediately could be rezzed. Yeah, quickly rezzed. Cal though, dropping the soul bond here on Adam Warlock. Still a winnable fight here for Envy. Blaster Barrage coming on out from NK. Cal finding Terra, so Wolverine threat down, but TTK getting Mantis on the side. TTK devastating the strategist line, and that is a quick trip back to spawn for the rest of Envy.
Yeah, they are going to go for this Adam Warlock team up with the Star-Lord. I like this as a different look, as it's one that's potentially more difficult for Wolverine to get his claws on. But that's also enabling 100 Thieves to have a very powerful front line. Hela essentially uncontested. Delana, though, hold on, gets burst down, popped, and it looks like not rezzed. So opportunity here for Envy to cap first.
That was the old 1-2 between iRemix and Cal. They set that up beautifully. Space on the Terra, both duelists down. NK, Blaster Barrage through the invisible boundary. Galactic Legend faded, but Envy with a huge advantage to the rest of this fight right now. 100 Thieves looking very drained. Delana might come back into the fight late with the Gauss Death, but by that time, people are likely going to be gone. 100 Thieves, though, somehow alive. This gets back to Focus Fire. Finish them off. You must be thinking here. The Meteor M comes in. Perhaps a bit of an overcommit, but sometimes, Jake, you want to get through the first
Delana with
point
2?
as quick as
Hold
possible.
on.
Yeah, what?
No way,
what?
right?
What?
Surely not.
Okay.
Surely not. I mean, Envy need a cap, man. Like they're chasing kills really hard. They're gonna get the cap secured. That was a little bit too close for comfort. Delana finding 2 in the midst of the fight. I mean, Envy get that one, but it was off the back of a big peg onto the Hela with such a long respawn in that position. So Envy, I mean, I like what they're bringing to the table here. Maybe it'll be enough.
They're alive. They've gotten eliminations. They're on the board. The scoreboard has broken from its undefined infinity status in terms of kill-death ratios. So, things a little bit better. But here we go. Terra going for the dive. Doesn't find anyone there right off the bat. Galactic Legend in from NK. 100 Thieves. Force back a little bit. TTK. No Meteor M up yet, but will be up soon. The Sia, though. Envy giving it some respect, Jake.
Yeah, they've got to back off. I mean, the threat from Wolverine with the Sia, there's so much damage available to be pumped for 100 Thieves. It's got to be little by little. Magneto pulled very deep, bubbling, getting body blocked in the choke, needs everything to stay alive. Wolverine ultimate dives into the backline. Cal so low, but popping all the defensive skills, able to stay alive through it all.
Stays alive because Space somehow got away. Space broke Terra's ankles, got out of the worst of it, stays alive. Invisible boundary from Pain, well timed. Terra can't get away, gets punished for the dive. BRB brings him right back into play. Delana had to use the Gauss of Death. This was a saving Gauss of Death because it was about to go down in turn. Still getting some damage value off of this, Jake. There's not immediate response. Still, Gauss of Death is down. TTK right now, Meteor M ready to go. Envy, though, with momentum on the point, starting to force TTK back. Meteor M is about to be used right now. Instead, he just watches Vinny get crunched in front of his eyes.
A little bit too greedy with the shield. Maybe doesn't think he can save the Venom anyway. Has to pop it on himself. 100 Thieves send reeling. I mean, Envy, there's still some fight left in this roster, despite the blistering pace that was set on 100 Thieves offense. Now, the defense looking a little bit difficult. Still, opportunity to make the hold here. If they can get the stoppage, this would be huge.
Galactic Legend causes the Meteor M. Still a little bit of gas left in that Legend. NK looking for more. Gonna see the Sia dropped in response to Lena. Stops NK in the middle of the air. Sets up the one-person advantage, but uses the team up. Gets back into the fray. Envy back at full strength. Meteor M was used by Space. Also doesn't get anything. 6 on 6. Next thing coming up right now is gonna be Terra with the Galactic Legend of his own. Terra, though, under heavy pressure from Cal. Moves over, says nope, Galactic Legend time, goes on in. Delana, res back up by the rocket. Invisible boundary down from Envy. Both teams trying out ultimates. Not a whole lot in terms of dying, and when people die, the res comes in. Terra in onto that point, drops a Blaster Barrage, and Jake, it's still very close. Karmic Revival now up for MV2.
100 Thieves are juggling this card pressure incredibly well. Cal maybe forced to pop that revive. Now needs to get Space back into the fight. NK down, getting rezzed as well. So those picks mean basically nothing here for 100 Thieves. They've got to find something else. They have the Sia online, but the pressure overwhelming. Cal super low, just barely gets out with his life. And with Vinny down, it's going to be difficult for 100 Thieves to hold onto the card. It's just TTK to hold the front line.
Remix now getting low, needs a little bit of help heal-wise. Envy, though, still very much in the fight. The Karmic Revival from Cal, well-timed. TTK, though, has the Meteor M ready to go. Not a lot of responses on the other side. Might be up to TTK as Remix getting down and dirty into the back line. Now, back and over. Terra, Galactic Legend, up once more. Invisible Boundary down, but it's not enough to save NK. NK down, no BRB res this time. Clear advantage now for 100 Thieves, as CTK holds the Meteor M in reserve, but for now, just damage on the Remix.
Yeah, and the dive has really run out of steam here for 100 Thieves. The front line is doing such a good job juggling all the pressure on Cart, being just impossible to evict from this position. But hold on, Cal finds the burst onto Terra. That's a bit of an opportunity now. TTK with the Meteor M is sedated, is under a lot of pressure right now. And it looks like Envy just wants to go past the front line, dive in, deal with some of these dangerous strategists. I like the decision making, but will they get stomped by TTK's Meteor M? No, you can't get the connection.
Yeah, they stay in it. The triple strategist for Envy, still letting them stay in the fight. Space, unable to finish off Invisible Woman on the other side. Harvey just barely gets away from the Meteor M. TTK takes down his counterpart. Man advantage now for 100 Thieves on this payload that just has not moved for what feels like 3 minutes now. Galactic Legend in from NK. Is anyone for 100 Thieves gonna die? Who's looking for Delina? Delina, though, gets healed in turn, but gets an opportunistic kill on the TTK. Delina gets caught by the very end. NK, the end of Galactic Legend, doing the work required for this point to be captured. A minute 30 left in Envy's life.
This is going to be a critical push. They need to get a cap, and they honestly need all the time they can get. At this point, getting an overtime capture is probably about the best you can do, but you need to do better than that. You need to have some kind of clock to have any chance. I mean, there's no way 100 Thieves do not get 1 tick, so it's time for Envy to go gambling, take a lot of risks. They need to cap with time.
We're moving on in. NK Blaster Barrage has the Star-Lord team up to get right back into it. Terra, though, Galactic Legend doesn't let Remix get away, moves on forward, laying the damage from the front line. 100 Thieves right now just looking for some extra staggers. And they just might get it, Jake, as Space can't leave either.
Their fate may be sealed now. Capping with overtime is the best they can do pretty much from this position. I don't see any way for Envy to get more than that. But are you really going to be able to make the full hold with only 1 tick to give against a squad like 100 Thieves? It's a scary spot to be, but Envy, despite the odds against them, they're fighting it out.
All they can do is press forward. 100 Thieves, though, very close to being our winners in the money match yet again here at Rivals Fight Night. But still, they have to put Envy away. We'll see if they can do that here. Terra, Blaster Barrage on to the convoy. Sleepy, Soul Resurgence coming on out. Envy pushing forward. Delina has had enough. Goddess of Death into the sky. Pillar being a little bit of an impediment, gets some decent damage in, but is immediately dragged on out. Envy, still a lot of ults in their bank, good to go here. NK, Galactic Legend, has to be the first one that's likely to come here in just a moment. Galactic Legend is ready. Invisible Boundary is gonna come down a little bit early here from Envy as they use to set the terms of the fight.
And very happy to just hold this down and trade down ultimates are 100 Thieves. We've already into overtime. 100 Thieves, this choke point is going to be their last and final defense. Space goes very deep with Meteor M. Can't quite find the connection. Delena low. The pressure, though, comes in from Envy. They see an opportunity. Maybe they can get over the line.
Delena's low. Delena's dead. Space finished off Delena, who almost got away. And now, Envy, can they make the most of this paint? Able to take down Terra. Both duelists down. The 100 Thieves damage is wrecked. TTK can be his own damage source. Goes for the Meteor M in response to Galactic Legend. No pickoffs coming in from that. NK still on the Galactic Legend. Paint, though, is down. They lose
Terra.
2. And Envy now with only 4 back around. 100 Thieves with a respawn advantage. It is overtime. They cannot leave the convoy for any reason here, Jake. Envy must push forward if they want to stay this alive. 100 Thieves, they can taste the $1,000 at stake if they hold back Envy here and now. But the res comes in from Envy. They're pushing forward. They want to keep this going. And Jake, they might have just done it with Delena getting picked.
Remix diving into the backline with the Venom ult. Would love to get some critical pickoffs, at least taking some of the pressure off of the front line, off of the cart. Just gets healed in time. Now swinging around, looking to dive in. 100 Thieves, they're so difficult to finish, even in these critical moments. Legendary over the top from Terra. Does just find one. The invisible boundary from Paintbrush. Stabilizing this for the moment for Vinny, but they cannot get off this cart for even a second on Team
They need
Envy.
to go back in. They're getting pushed back. And that invisible boundary was just a little bit slow to save. Still keeps them in the fight for a little bit. Remix, though, down, gets caught by Delena, swap to the Punisher. And now Envy with only 3 left. 100 Thieves about to be champions once more. You get the resurrection in from the Warlock, but it's not enough. It's 100 Thieves. They win the $1,000 here. Rivals Fight Night North America.
It's a well-deserved championship here for 100 Thieves, a 3-0 victory in the end. But we have to remember, this is an Envy squad that is far from reaching their potential. What a fantastic money match. I think the 3-0 scoreline does not tell the story. 100 Thieves are far, far ahead for the moment in NA Marvel Rivals, but it's clear there are challengers on the horizon.
Yeah, and I think that's a key thing. I mean, you say it a lot in hero shooters, but it's totally true. There's 3 O's and then there's 3 O's. And in this case, we had both here today. If you look at EU, VP was just a steamrolling, nothing in question, right? But when we take a look at what happened here in our NA final, there's a lot to talk about. It was not entirely one-sided, except for that one round in the last map, which definitely was one-sided. It doesn't get more one-sided than no eliminations, but Avast, they bounced back.
They did, and I honestly give Envy a lot of credit, like Jake was saying at the end there, is that pretty much one of the only counters to Wolverine to like a dive comps or sometimes is you play a Adam Warlock, because what do you have? You have the soul bond. You have the ability to distribute the damage around, prevents your Adam Warlock from ever pretty much going down. They go down to 1 HP, and you also have the cocoons when you team up with Adam Warlock with the Mantis, or rather with the Star-Lord. So I do think Cal moving to the Warlock, we've seen Cal do a lot for Envy actually, was a great idea. The real problem was just they got so rolled on their defense that they're up against a brick wall, you know? Like they had like essentially a huge timing to try to match. If any sort of difficulties at all, they're gonna be at a huge disadvantage. So maybe just a little too late, I think, there for Envy. I would love to see that swap come out a little bit earlier, but still a great showing for them. And coming out here, getting second in the fight night, going against the competing champs, or the current champs, I do think there's a lot of hope. You should have a lot of hope if you're an Envy fan and be like, oh, they can grow. They still have a lot of room to grow for this team.
Well, because 100 Thieves won with better strategy, better picks, better like understanding of the meta, which should be totally unsurprising with how experienced that roster is and how good they are in some of those like very prepared, rehearsed situations. But when it came to just like the raw individualism, those little moments about who can just get that tiny edge, I felt like Envy was actually coming out on top in some of those moments.
All right, so you think about this match overall, there's a lot to be said good on the 100 Thieves side, a lot of storylines we had, but, as we get to our player of the match, Avast, I feel like it had to be just one person. We were all talking about it, and we all agreed it's got to be Terra for 100 Thieves, where, Delina oftentimes a storyline, but Terra, whether it be on the Winter Soldier, or especially the Wolverine on our final map, just looked phenomenal.
Flexibility is the name of the game, and Terra definitely has it. And I think you can see the consistent impact for Terra throughout this series, just making sure to make the space, get the picks, whether it be Winter Soldier, whether it be Wolverine. I mean, you see here just the combination on the wall, which just has to feel really, really bad. And I think that's also what's so important for every team at the top level is like, not only does Terra show up here on the Winter Soldier, on the Star-Lord, but very importantly, not every team has a top tier Wolverine player. And having the Wolverine player in the back pocket, which, Jake's talked about a lot here, we've all talked about it, puts a lot of pressure in your pick, in your protect phase, just in terms of the hero selection on enemy teams.
Yeah, I think if you want to have like a decent draft and not be like just forced into these duelist bands, you need an amazing Hela and you need an amazing Wolverine, and not many teams have both. I think that's part of the strength here for 100 Thieves, and Terra even coming out of the Winter Soldier looking amazing across the board. I do think though we got to give an honorable mention to Vinny, especially the group performance, fantastic. I think TTK looked amazing on the Magneto, was just a brick wall in a lot of these scenarios holding the objective. I mean, across the board for 100 Thieves, I feel like we have been hyping Envy a ton this series because it's really exciting to see a new team come out and be impressive and make it competitive against the top squad. But 100 Thieves, they still have a serious lead here in North America.
Yeah, and 100 Thieves, I mean, look, we went into this kind of expecting them to be the favorite today. It does end up being the case, but the road we took here was unexpected. Envy, I think, surprised a whole lot of people today with how close they were able to play against 100 Thieves at points, with the fact that they were able to beat Sentinels in the iRemix reverse sweep as it was deemed. And
hashtag iRemix reverse sweep.
Yeah,
hashtag.
Yep. Coined by Hydration. Hydration gets royalties every time you say it, believe it or not. I don't know how he managed it, but, Hydration just has that tech. And I think to me, it's a cool, exciting story here. Anytime you see a team do that when it wasn't the expectation come in, it's cool. And that's why, by the way, you got to watch the games. And for our part of it here at Rivals Fight Night, every single Thursday. We will be inviting some of the top teams of both regions, and you'll be able to see all the action here live. If you love top-end play here for Marvel Rivals, this is the place to be. And if you happen to miss it, check out our YouTube. All the VODs go there. Your support really does go a long way. And also support from our sponsors like Intel, throwing a helping hand and supporting a lot of our efforts here in the esports space. But Avast, you know, we're coming to the end here. What are your thoughts on how things went down here today?
Expected, I think, both across EU and NA, the expected result. But EU, you know, I think that was kind of slid in pretty easily.
We need an international land for VP.
Yeah, I know.
More than any other team, VP needs a challenge. They need a real foe, and I don't think they have one yet. It's not the same in NA by a long stretch, but man, VP is just disgusting. I feel like this is going to be a nice $1,000 check coming week to week here for the foreseeable future. Frankly, the way they're playing.
100%. And also, I mean, for NA, I think something that we have to walk away from this too is that probably some of the most interesting compositions we've seen in Fight Night and just Marvel Rivals as a whole today, because we saw 2 series in a row and for this finals where Rocket Raccoons played full time. Both teams. They were so afraid of Sleepy being on Loki, or just didn't want Sleepy on Loki, that we didn't see any Loki play, which I think is actually a very unexpected and something that we haven't seen a lot of. So I think takeaways, VP, 100 Thieves, clearly looking the strongest in the regions, but also seeing some really fun composition, seeing some more evolution as we continue to move throughout and Marvel Rivals just gets older as a game. So I think it just shows that there's a lot of exciting potential opportunities in the future for the game, and just what is anyone going to cook up next?
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. Like it's a great moment here for Marvel Rivals. It's always exciting at this early time in a game's history, and we're just happy to be here at Rivals Fight Night and bringing you guys a great show, a great broadcast. Shout out to the co-streamers as well. A lot of people from across Twitch, YouTube, you know, co-streaming us and bringing the hype to the fans. We really appreciate y'all. It is exciting. That's why we do this, is to like put on the show for the community and to be here, you know, week after week. So we appreciate everyone. Hope you continue to support us.
All right, well, that does bring us to the end of our broadcast here today. We will be back next Thursday with a new slate of teams, but the same champions. We'll see if things can be had. Check out Marvel Rivals Invitational tomorrow for more North American action. But for us here at Rivals Fight Night, this is the end. Thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. Thank you, the teams. Thank you, Intel, for sponsoring us and helping us put on a great show. And we'll see everyone else next time for more Rivals Fight Night.